Hey guys, it's David Patrick Green, davidpatrickgreen.com, hackhollywood.com. I feel a little strange today because I'm not exactly sure how I'm going to address today's topic, just because it's a little awkward and hard to grasp. It's more of a concept, and the concept, the best I can come up with is don't follow the rules or trust your own instincts, or try, find out, and regroup and try again. Something to that effect. Basically what I'm saying is that while we all want someone to tell us what to do, nobody can actually tell us what to do. And also, who we are asking what to do may be a poor choice because they don't know what to do even for themselves, let alone for someone else like you or me. And I guess maybe the best thing I can do is tell you a bit of a story about how my acting career unfolded, went sort of from complete rookie newbie, even though maybe I should have been considered intelligent and smart because I had been educated, I have been pretty well traveled, I had worked in high levels of business, worked with CEOs of major corporations, but when it came to acting, I was completely befuddled. There's a word you don't hear every day, befuddled. Standing on my coordinate hurts my feet. Okay, so when I started out, I did what everyone did, and I took some acting classes. I didn't have a degree in acting or anything like that. I just started taking acting classes. I was actually in Los Angeles, and I was working for a business consultancy, and we all got laid off at the same time because of a major economic crash. So there I was, unemployed, and not really liking what I was doing. And I thought, I've always thought about acting at the back of my mind, and I thought, okay, I'll take a class. So I took a class, and long story short, I took a bunch of classes, a gazillion classes, and every now and then I would sort of dip my toe in the pool and see where I was at, and I honestly didn't get very far in the early days, and I'm talking about the first couple of years. Very little happened. Of course, I rushed out and I got headshots. Then when I had taken what I thought were enough acting classes, I actually did a 2-year program, a Meisner Program at a very prestigious school. That just confused me even more because I just found now I have a lot of rules for doing something that to me should be more based on feeling and instinct, and I couldn't put the two together. So it actually kind of maybe it made my skills actually a little worse for a time. And then I took some cold reading classes, some audition classes, and all that stuff, and I guess I was taking so many classes and I was practicing so often that I broke through a lot of barriers just by sheer volume. It was like when I started, I couldn't remember one line. I mean, I was so nervous and transfixed by being up on stage and having to do something like memorize and the stage fright was unbelievable. Carly Simon ain't got nothing on me. If you want to know about Carly Simon and her stage fright, Google it. But I could not remember one line. 3 lines, forget about it. I mean, after the first line, I'd be just like, I don't even know what I'm doing here. No clue at all. It was terrible. It was terrible. And so anyway, I dove in, I did everything that everyone else was doing, which was getting headshots. And I found that I looked terrible in pictures. I mean, I couldn't stand the sight of myself. And the photographers would go, oh, you look fantastic. And some people would say, they're pretty good or whatever, but I sent them out and I got nothing, no response at all. I did get a commercial agent, but commercial agents are not that hard to come by because they're always looking for new faces. And I mean, a quick explanation, the reason why it's easy to get a commercial agent is because they always need new faces, because once you've gotten really well known for advertising certain things, then you're too well known for advertising those things, and all the other advertisers don't want to use you because they're like, oh, there's the Subway guy, and you're advertising Federal Express, that kind of a thing. And the opposite is true for TV and film. They want really well-known people in TV and film because people have are fans of those actors, and so it attracts attention, and that's what the show wants. And we can forgive someone because the plots are so good in TV and film, if it is well written, that we forget where we saw that person before fairly quickly. You could see somebody on a sitcom, and the next thing you know, they're on another sitcom, or they're on their fourth police drama, and you would think by then we'd be like, wait, you're the Magnum PI guy, how can you be the Blue Bloods guy? But we get so into the story that we forget about the fact that they were on 5 other shows. And anyway, so my point being, I tried everything. Nothing was happening. But I did break through, and I felt like my skills were getting pretty good, and I did this masterclass where I just absolutely killed it. And I was like, breakthrough. And I was having a ton of breakthroughs, okay? I mean, I literally went from the ground floor, and over a period of 3-4 years, I just had breakthrough after breakthrough after breakthrough, and I continue to have them to this day. And that's why I'm really excited about teaching you guys, because I have breakthroughs that if I had only known, I would have arrived so much sooner. You can tell I'm screwed up about this whole thing because I can't even find my words right now. It's so embarrassing. But anyway, so I felt like I had gotten to the point where maybe I could do this at a professional level, but I had no idea how to get in front of anybody. I could not get a theatrical agent, and in Los Angeles, a theatrical agent is basically TV and film. I know that means different things in different places. They might call it a legit agent in New York, if I'm not mistaken. And who knows what they call it in London, Australia, Frankfurt, Mexico City, Toronto, Vancouver, Montreal, wherever. But I couldn't get an agent. But I felt like my talents were good. And even though everyone told me I was going to book a lot of commercials, I didn't book a lot of commercials because I'm just not happy enough for commercials. I don't know. I don't have a really good excuse, but that's what I think it is. I'm too much of a thinker. I just am not gregarious enough. I don't know. Whatever the story is, didn't do a lot of commercials. Did a few. And one obviously worked out incredibly well for me, and I made a lot of money off it. But point being, I couldn't get a theatrical agent, so I didn't know what to do. And I started taking casting director workshops. I did probably at least 100 of them in the space of a year. I would see somebody 2-3 times, and they would take my money, and then they still wouldn't call me in. I think I was called in one time from a casting director workshop. Once? Yeah, I think maybe once. So my investment, let's just call it 100 times 50. Let's just call it $5,000. Called in once, didn't book anything. So maybe I could have won that money in Vegas. I don't know. Maybe I would have made more money in Vegas. But I guess what it did teach me was that I didn't need to do those, or I shouldn't do those because they weren't working for me, and I couldn't find anyone else they were working for. They got a few success stories, of course. Everybody's got a success story. Whether it was the workshop that did it, no. Of course it's not the workshop. The person had the talent to perform, so all they had to do was go knock on the casting director's door and introduce themselves and say, hey, I've got talent. And if they were persistent, I'm sure they would have been seen. Or other people would have called and said, this person's really good, and you should see them. So they would have become successful regardless if they just thought about it and thought, well, I'm helping them by being on their show, so I'll go say hello. But anyway, nothing was working for me. And then I guess a lot of things happened that changed things, and it was a progression of knowledge and skills, but it was really, I started interning, and I know interning is not that easily come by these days because, like everything, it seems, actors get abused, and too many people were taking actors and spending too much of their time for no money at all. Basically, you work for free for me, so I make more money, and I give you nothing in return, except, I guess, the idea that you might think you're going to get an audition, but what good's an audition if you're not good enough? So, the exchange was very poor. But I got in there, and rather than be bored and do nothing once, we had opened envelopes and all those crazy old-time things, opening envelopes, which had pictures in them, in case you're seeing this in the far future and you don't even know what a picture is on paper. They did used to print them out, send them out in envelopes and couriers every single day, and they got them by the thousands, and that's what I did, is I opened the envelopes and I sorted them into the piles according to the agencies, according to the role, etc., and so on. And anyway, while I was there, I thought, well, I'll try and make myself useful, so, I would see what else needed to be done. And, after a few months of consistency, because everyone else is kind of coming and going, and the last thing they want to do is do the internship, even though they think they're going to get something out of it, but it's not really something they're psyched about. So I was a regular, face in the office for a few months, so they got to know my name a little bit, and I've got a sense of humor, and I can be funny, and I'm not afraid to, crack a joke if I see something happening, whatever, usually at my own expense, or, in fun for both of us. And so after a time, they got to know me, and they started giving me more responsibility. Hey, can you come in late at night because it's busy season and we need somebody to help sort headshots. So I would be alone with all the casting directors sorting headshots, which is not glamorous, but guess what? It's a great way to get to know casting directors, and even better, it's a great way for them to get to know you. And so I was doing that, and then they would, give me more responsibility. Do you want to go to the studio, Disney Studios or Warner Brothers Studios, and set up and run a casting session? Because after hours, which is when a lot of these castings were, in particular for families because they can't go during school hours, it could be later in the afternoon, and the regular employees would have to go home. They can't work forever, and the casting directors don't want to pay them forever. And so they would call me because I worked for nothing. And I would do it gladly because, look, what are my choices? I can go hang out with some friends and drink a few beers. I can go to another acting class. I had been to enough of those. Or, I don't know, stay at home, watch TV, go to the gym, whatever. Those are all fine, but I think it would be far more productive to spend that time in a room with casting directors, the producers, and the directors, and all of these awesome actors, many of whom had been series regulars on many shows. I saw some of my childhood heroes coming into audition for new shows that were being cast. So it was just so much fun. It was like winning a lottery, winning a prize. You get a walk-on role with these actors produced by this producer, and so on and so forth. So I was really getting schooled, but also getting to know them. And then at some point, I think I just got tired of them never noticing me. I would throw my headshot into the pile, and they would still not go, "Hey, David, do you want an audition?" They would never do that. And I was kind of like, this feels like a bit of a ripoff, but maybe I just have to take the bull by the horns myself. So one day, for fun, there was a role coming up, and I'll tell you, and I've told this story a million times, but I'll tell you guys if you haven't heard it. There was a role coming up. It was a small role on CSI. For a serial rapist with a foot fetish. And the whole episode was really about catching this guy, but the secondary reason for the episode was that Grissom, who was the original CSI guy, he's gone now, he was being followed around by a camera crew. So this was the early stages of reality television when they would follow cops and all that stuff. And so this was sort of a play on cops. So they were being followed around in the CSI, and it was funny because all the people would react differently to the camera. Some of them were hamming it up for the camera. Others, like Grissom, was just like, scram, beat it. But anyway, they were trying to find me. So anyway, but it was a small part with a large degree of importance. I had to save a few lines. And anyway, this guy dressed up as a fireman, and so I just had to basically, say a couple of lines. That was the part. So I didn't really know how to go about getting the part or getting the audition, I didn't want to ask for it. I guess it was just like too cheesy. Hey, can I have an audition for this? I think I'd be really good. Just too obvious, too nail on the head. Just got to check the hair. How's the hair? Yeah. Didn't put anything in, so it's kind of flopping around. Very fine hair. So I didn't know what to do. So you know what I decided to do? I decided to play the role of the serial rapist with a foot fetish in the office one day at the casting office. So I would just walk around the office, and I was like, okay, how do you play a serial rapist? Well, I can't, do any raping. I can't do anything really bad. But what else do I know about the guy? Well, he's got a foot fetish. So I walked around the office, and Southern California, a lot of open-toed shoes with the ladies, and I would say, hey, your toes are looking really good today. Did you just get them pedicured or something like that? And I would kind of stare at their toes. Well, you would think that would be really creepy and it would work really fast. Wrong. Somehow, all of the women missed it. They didn't know that I was doing that. I guess you can't underestimate a woman's vanity, right? Or what a woman really values. And they really like how they look. Obviously, I'm not speaking for all women, so don't jump down my throat. Many women value how they look. And so they were just thinking that I actually cared what their toes looked like. Like a guy's going to walk around telling women their toes look good. I mean, of course, some guys would. And again, there's nothing wrong with that. But it wasn't really my goal. Let's put it that way. So it wasn't working. And I was kind of like, really? I'm playing a serial rapist with a foot fetish in the office and no one can tell. I guess I'm never going to get this job because I'm not believable. Anyway, to make a short story long, one of the guys in the office, who is still in casting to this day, but I'm not mentioning names because it's not about the names, he goes, hey, so-and-so, he's playing the role of the serial rapist with the foot fetish. And everybody's like, oh, finally, right? They got it. So they're just like, oh, that's funny, David. Nothing. So I'm like, well, this is great. Well, I guess the next day, or maybe it was on a Friday, and then on Monday, I got a call. It's the casting director calling me herself. She has never called me. She's barely ever spoken to me. And she said, hey, David, you want to come in and read for that role? And I'm like, the serial rapist with a foot fetish? Yeah, that. Oh, my gosh. Okay, yeah. She goes, okay, well, the audition's at 1. And I said, oh, okay, great. I'll see you there. Hang up. I don't even know what time it is. I look at my watch. It's 11 o'clock in the morning. I don't think I had even seen the sides. Nothing. So they emailed me something. I printed it out. I had 2 hours. It probably took me 20 minutes to drive over there. I'm freaking out. I'm used to acting school preparation where you have 6 weeks to put a scene up, right? Like that happens in the real world. Not. And so I'm going, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. What do I do? I've got 2 lines, and I'm basically playing a fireman. Like I'm the serial rapist disguised as a fireman, and I'm trying to knock on doors in apartments, pretend I set off a smoke bomb in the hallway, and I'm trying to get into their apartment. So I'm basically like, what does this guy do? I mean, what do you say? I was like, I don't know. How do you play a serial rapist? I had no idea. I was like, there's no, what do you do? I had no idea. So I just stood there, and I was basically saying to myself ahead of time, this is just a joke. I mean, I'm not going to get this. I'll never get an audition again. Look for a new internship. Look for a new career. So I just stood there, and I basically said the lines. And one thing I did, which was a little trick, I don't know what made me start doing this, but it really helps, is that if you have a couple of lines, and it's not really intense necessarily, I guess I just chose to look down the hall. It was like maybe check down the hall between the lines. So I said, excuse me, ma'am, we have reports of smoke in the building. Do you mind if I check your apartment? Like literally like that. I had nothing on it. Didn't know what to do with it. So I'm like, okay, see you later. Thanks, David. Bye. And then I had this other line, one line, where I get beaten up by all these firefighters, and after I get beaten up, I have to say, she wouldn't let me touch her feet. And I'm like, how do you say that? I mean, I don't even know who I'm talking to. I don't know who I'm talking to. Do I say it creepy? Like, she wouldn't let me touch her feet. Or do I go, well, she wouldn't let me touch her feet, so, what else could I do? I didn't really have a clue. So again, I just stared at the reader, who was the casting director who actually noticed that I was trying to get the role. And I just stared at him and I said, she wouldn't let me touch her feet. And that was it. I didn't know. I was just like, what is this? All this preparation, 3 or 4 years of acting classes, and I still don't know what I'm doing. So, make a short story even longer. I booked it, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this. I'm going to be on the #1 show on television, CSI. It was the #1 show on television at the time, and I'm going to be on it. And I was like, okay, this is amazing. This is amazing. What am I doing here? And it was amazing because all of these different things started happening at once. I had made friends with an acting teacher because I was asked to be in an acting class, to teach an acting class because I had helped out with the master class, and the owner of the school really liked me, so she said, you want to be a teacher at my school, but you'll have to quit. So I asked one of the other teachers who was sort of like more like me than everybody else, hey, do you mind if we talked about this? And he said, yeah, no problem. We became great friends. As it turns out, his best friend is the producer of another top 10 TV show. Not only a producer, the showrunner, okay? Like total control, aside from the guys who write the checks. And before long, I got on to ER as well. So I'm on CSI and ER within a couple of months. Then I decide, I'm driving back and forth to San Diego to do acting classes, and while I'm down there, I try and get an agent down there. And she gets me in one time for this show, Veronica Mars, and they just keep bringing me back over and over and over. And finally, I booked that, and, it was just going crazy. Oh, and then while I was at the office, I was helping out do a pilot with a huge director, and there was a part, and late night, one night, there was this part, and it called for someone who was much younger than me, probably 10 years younger than me. But I knew it was like something I could do. It's like a delivery driver. Anybody could be a delivery driver, within 25 to 55 or whatever. So I said, hey, I think I could do this. I got the feel for it. And he goes, yeah, you could probably do that, the casting director. And this is one of those late night sessions I was just telling you about. So whatever, I throw my thing in the pile, get to audition. And I'm auditioning for the director who directed Marvel movies. And he's directing this pilot, so hopefully he cashes in if it goes to series. Anyway, so we become kind of buddies because I'm helping him with his casting, and I'm in the room a lot, and he's asking me, what do you think of that actor? What did you think of that actor? And it was interesting. And anyway, so I read for him, boom, booked that. And then I started realizing something, that if you make friends with these people, not only do you get opportunities, but they want to hire you. They want to hire their friends. They want to work with people they know, like, and trust. Who doesn't, right? So if your friends can do the job, you're going to bring them in first. So I'm like, this is starting to make some sense. Okay, so all of this crazy stuff, I'm not telling you to tell you my story. I'm telling you because none of what I just told you is probably anything like what anybody else has told you to do, right? Like, has nothing to do with headshots. I literally didn't have a headshot to get any of these auditions. I just spoke to someone face to face. I didn't have an agent at the time. I just spoke to someone face-to-face, although I'm kind of lying because obviously I had an agent in San Diego, which helped me get a role. And I got to work with Kristen Bell, so that was cool. But anyway, so I started just doing things the way I felt like doing them, and I was enjoying it more. It was more interactive, and, you have to start at the bottom and work your way up, but I'm like, what everyone else is telling me is not right. They don't know what they're talking about. I've been to 100 casting director workshops, and they're all telling me the same thing. Everybody's hyper-focused on what their pictures look like, and that's all they're talking about is what their pictures look like. Or they're talking about what you should bring for them as a gift. And I'm like, and what you should do in the room. And everyone's saying something different. And I see some actors are actually creating a database of what every single casting director likes. And I'm like, yeah, I was basically like, fuck that. I'm not going to do that. I mean, it's just... I'm not that much of an ass kisser. I couldn't bring myself to do it. I'm like, no way am I going to bring gifts and chocolates and flowers for these people. What have they done to deserve it? It's not their birthday, so it didn't make any sense to me. And these people are all loving it. And I'm like, that doesn't sound right. I'm not on board with that. And I've even heard crazier things like you should spend a percentage of your paycheck and buy a gift for the casting director. Are you nuts? You did them a favor. They didn't do you a favor. They did themselves and the producers a favor by bringing you in. So if anything, they should be thanking you and writing you a check, which is what actually happens when you book a job, which is how you know you did them a favor. They wrote you a check, so why would you write it back to them? Okay, that doesn't make any sense at all, aside from the fact that it's also considered bribery and a kickback, and it's illegal, and so are casting director workshops. But anyway, I think I've said that enough times. So you gotta not follow the rules that other people are telling you. What you need to follow are the rules, not the rules, the universal principles of success, which is basically get a skill. Well, first of all, before you get a skill, figure out what you want to do. You don't have to stick with it, but you got to pick something to go after because that explains what all the other steps are, okay? So pick something you want to do, and if it's being an actor, get really specific about it because the type of acting you do for one thing is not necessarily going to serve you as well for one type of acting as another. If you wanted to be a clown or a stand-up comedian or do comedy, then you'd probably go down one track. And if you want to just be dramatic and be someone who's on cop dramas, then you're going to do something else. Why not just get as specific as you can? Being a generalist is really, really difficult. It's really hard to move laterally all over the place and go up at the same time. So you can do a bunch of things, but it's really hard to get good at all those things. It's much easier to get really good at one thing, then get to the top, and if you want to move around up here, then you can. That's kind of what Bill Gates has proven, and lots of people have proven, is when you are Bill Gates, then guess what? You can also solve all of the world's disease problems because you can go talk to anybody at any time and tell them that's what you want to do, and they're probably going to go, yeah, you could probably do that because you were really successful at this thing. You build up confidence in people. And so get really specific about what you want to do. And I'm talking about like the type of acting, the type of people you want to work with, because you're going to go after those people when you're ready. And actually, you don't have to be ready. You can go after them now, but start at the bottom, in a production company or a casting office or anywhere you want where people are working in the business and learn how that business works. So you're going to get skills, but while you're getting skills, and get the skills that are specifically going to apply to what you want to do, specifically, get the skills, figure out who you are. Like what is it you bring to the table as an actor, but also as someone who can help others out. So get those skills, figure out how you can help people, write a list of everything you can do, and then start approaching people in the business so you can learn about the business. And this is so universal, okay? This works across the board for any business, and that's why I know it works for acting, because that's what I ended up doing. I just did it unconsciously. So now I'm telling you to do it consciously, and you can speed up your path so much. But you start approaching people in the business that it makes sense for you to approach, and you can explain to them why you're approaching them because it makes sense, because you have the skills that are going to help them out. It's really all about helping other people out, and then they will help you. So you learn about the business, then you approach people, you try to help them in some way, whatever it is. It can be just putting a smile on their face one time, it can be helping them with your acting, or it can be helping them make coffee, taking their trash out, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. You just got to start to get to know them. And then you'll learn how the business works, and they'll build up a rapport and a relationship with you. And then when you're ready, when your skills are where they need to be for what you want to do, maybe you start off with a small part, or if you're really good, you could just start off with a really big part. If again, it just depends on how much of a natural you are, which I am not at all. I'm not a natural actor in the least. It fills my head with thoughts of terror every time I think about acting, although not as much lately. Getting there, see? You have breakthroughs and breakthroughs all the time. But really, that's what you need to do, is get your skills, figure out what it is you want. Well, figure out what it is you want to do. Get the skills to do it, and approach people in the business, learn about that business. And then when you've done all that, what happens next is these people will basically open their family. They open their home to you, basically. So whatever is theirs is yours. So if you want something that they have, if you want help, if you want an introduction, they will do that for you because they want to help you. You've helped them, and now they want to help you. It's just natural. It's what people do. And so really that's what it turns out that I did. I didn't realize that at the time. I just wanted to get the heck out of all this insanity that everyone else was doing. I went through gazillions of headshots, and I went through all those workshops, and I did so many acting classes, and some of those things were valuable, especially classes. I think really helped me gain confidence, not necessarily so much learning about technique, but I learned how to go through this process and become someone who is more of an artist as opposed to someone who's just, a regular person in the world. And there's a difference between being an artist and being someone who's just, a merchant, someone who has a job and just does their job. It's just using different parts of your brain and all that stuff. So that acting classes helped me that way. But basically what I did is I left the rat race and I became, I guess, an entrepreneur. And that's really what you have to do. You have to become the CEO of your own business. You can never relinquish control. I don't care if you have the greatest agent in the world, you have to tell that agent what he should be doing for you. Otherwise, he will take it upon himself to do what he thinks, or she, and who knows what's going to happen to you. And that's probably why so many young performers get chewed up and spit out by the business, because they put so much trust into their handlers, but these handlers don't know them, and the handlers, if you don't tell them differently, they're going to do things the way they see fit. And 9 times out of 10, it's going to benefit them. That's what everybody in the business does. That's why when you go to a casting director workshop, they give you information that doesn't benefit you. It's designed to benefit them because they're telling you what to do to make them happy. So if that means don't reach out to them personally or call them or visit them, well, that benefits them because they don't want strange people coming to visit them. But does that benefit you? No, it does not. You must create personal relationships. It's impossible to get to any level of anything decent without personal relationships. Okay? It's just, you can't live in the digital world and expect to work face to face if these people don't know who you are. Okay? So basically all I'm saying is what you need to do is to set your own course, see where you want to go, name it, try and get there through the steps that I mentioned earlier, like figuring out where it is you want to go, what skills do you have, what skills do you need to learn, meeting people in the business, learning about the business, and then them repaying your efforts with the rewards that you're looking for, which is to become involved in what they're doing, right? It's a mutual help society is basically all it is. And that's it, okay? And if you do that, your chances for success are incredible. I can almost guarantee you will have some level of success because you'll just keep trying things, and then if it doesn't work, then you go back and try it again, okay? It's that simple. You don't give up when something doesn't work. You don't say, oh, that's never going to work. It's one time, and it's with one person. So you could do the exact same thing with someone else, and it'll work amazing, right? So you've got to just have the desire. Okay, if you have the desire, then the rest of this stuff kind of takes care of itself because you will figure out what you need to do to get what you want. But if you have the desire and you want to ask other people what you should do, you're screwed. You're effed, okay? They have no idea what you should do because they don't know you. They have no idea who you are and what strengths you bring to the table. So they're going to give you some general answer that 99% of the time benefits them, okay? So if you're an agent, what are you going to tell them to do? I don't know. Don't call me, send me a headshot, whatever, or call me when you got 25 credits to your name. If you're a casting director, more or less the same thing. Don't call me, don't visit me, have your agent send your stuff in. That is very self-serving for them and it benefits them. It's not going to help you with your career, okay? You've got to be the CEO and you're running a small business, and when you're running a small business in the early days, you do all the sales yourself, okay? You go meet the people. You go, hey, I'm new to the neighborhood. I wanted to introduce myself and have you check out this awesome vacuum cleaner that I've got. It works amazing. And if they don't need a vacuum cleaner that day, then they say, okay, see you later. But you wouldn't give up there because there's other people in the neighborhood with dirty carpets. So you go to their next place and they go, oh my gosh, my vacuum cleaner just broke down and my carpets are filthy. What perfect timing, right? So that's what you have to do. It's literally that simple. You've got to find the desire. Without the desire, everything else is screwed. You're going to feel bad. You're going to give up too easily. So if you don't want it badly, then there's nothing I can really tell you. And I didn't even know what I wanted, okay? I don't know. I've come and gone with that. But this isn't about me. This is about you. You got to figure out what you want. I didn't know what I wanted, and I still accomplished amazing things. I think I don't even know how many credits I've got on IMDb now. It's like, I can't believe it. I can't believe who I have worked with, what I've worked on. It's mind-boggling, okay? Mind-boggling. Ugh, and I still feel like I haven't done anything. So you literally just have to do this. Take charge of everything. Don't let anyone else get any ideas in your head. Oh, no, you can't do that. Whatever they say you can't do, that's probably what you should do, okay? Because no one else will be doing it, okay? Everyone was sending postcards. Then they stopped because it's all digital. I wouldn't send postcards because they're largely ineffective, but it is the opposite of what everyone else is doing, I think, because I don't know what anybody's doing anymore. They're all on social media trying to develop relationships with people. Wow. You know what? I'm going to give you a quick little lesson on the power of contact. So in descending order, I'll just start at the bottom. I would say by far the weakest way to contact someone is through social media, because there's thousands of people on there. Who knows if they're even going to see whatever you send to them, like you tweet them or whatever you send them on Instagram. It's like a gigantic worldwide dating site with billions of people. How are you ever going to match up? It's a joke. Forget it. It's a waste of time. But anyway, let's say that's the first level of effort. Then the next level of effort would be maybe to send them an email. That's if you can get their email address. And I would say that's 10 to 100 times more powerful than a social media, whatever you call it, a post on social media. And then the next level, and this is very general, there's lots of stuff probably in between, but the next level up would be a phone call. And that would be, if you can get their phone number and you can call them, that's probably 10 to 100 to maybe 1,000 times more powerful than an email, because at least you know they're talking to you. An email, they may look at it. You don't even know if they're looking at it, right? But it's at least personalized if you're smart. But the phone call, at least they're talking to you. They don't know what you look like, but you can say a lot of stuff, and it's so much more powerful than an email, which is so much more powerful than social media posts. And then the next step would be a face-to-face visit. And that would be 10 to 100 to maybe 1,000 times more powerful than a phone call. And the reason for that is when you are talking to someone face-to-face, you have 100% of their attention. They can see you, they can hear you, they can feel you. They are listening to what it is you are saying. And if you say the right things to them at the right time, then literally your entire life can explode, okay? Because they may say, I like your proposal. When can you start? When would you like to come in? Yes, here's an audition. We'll call you tomorrow. Like that casting director called me. They called me at 11 because I told them I wanted something on a Friday. They called me Monday at 11 and told me I have an audition 1 p.m. on Monday. That is what could happen, okay, face to face. Almost nothing is going to happen with all those other methods. The phone, what's going to happen out of a phone call? That they're going to bring you in for a face-to-face interview. So literally, almost all these things have to take place for you to get the face-to-face meeting, which could lead to some kind of result, a positive result. So why do all the other stuff when you could just go in and meet them? If you met someone 10 times, even if they rejected you 9 times, the 10th time they'd be like, wow, you're persistent, and so far, you've been charming, you've been funny, you've been helpful, and even though we told you we don't do that, and, I chased you out after you threw up on my floor, you know what? I'm going to make an exception. I'm going to do this for you. We're going to bring you into our family because I like you. I trust you. You are persistent. That's the kind of person I want to work with, right? So that's it, guys. Be your own CEO. Don't follow the rules that everybody else is telling you. And I can almost guarantee you will find some level of success. And whatever level you find, you can improve or increase by just improving and increasing your skills and meeting the right people. Because really it's just a big match game, right? It's matching skills with people. So maybe the people don't appreciate your skills as much as somebody else might. And so maybe you need to just sort of network a little. I hate the word networking. Family work a little. Or speak to the clients or speak to the people and say, hey, do you know somebody else that maybe could use what you know about me, like who else I could help out, and maybe they'll help you out. But anyway, I wanted to, so that's basically it, guys. That's it in a nutshell. I hope this was helpful. If you like this, then like it and share it. Please subscribe to my channel, because then you will get notifications of other amazingly helpful videos that are practically guaranteed to get your acting career into whatever gear you would like it to be. Okay? Thanks, and we'll talk to you later. So hey guys, I just wanted to preface the video that's coming up with a couple of things. First of all, I don't want to say don't do this and don't do that. I'm not creating this video to bag on other people. It's tempting. I like to bag on people that I feel are screwing actors over, wasting their time. But I think a lot of times they don't even know they're doing it, right? But let's face it, there's scams out there, and then there's people that are just sort of wasting your money. Like you're coming out for the gold rush, and you don't know what you're doing, but they'll still sell you a shovel, right? And that's kind of what I'm talking about is don't buy a bunch of shovels and picks and wheelbarrows when you don't even know where the mine is, let alone own a mine, let alone know if there's any gold in it, okay? So just avoid all of these purveyors of stuff, okay? At some point you'll need a headshot. At some point you probably could use an agent, but you'll know when that is. You'll know it because you are successful and you can't handle the volume of work that you are getting, okay? But I'm not saying this to bag on people. So these are the positive things to do to help your acting career. These are the universal principles of success I'm going to share with you. Okay, so there is that. Yeah, so I just wanted to preface that before I get into the meat of the video, because I think at times I can, become a basher. I'm bashing because I hate when I see people wasting actors' time and they kind of know it, but they're getting money from it and they're short of money because their own jobs maybe aren't going as well as they should. So, it is what it is. But the purpose isn't to just bash them. The purpose is to help you out and teach you what you should be doing, less than what you shouldn't be doing. Just stick to these positive, amazing principles of success, and you won't have to worry about all this other stuff. You'll know exactly when to get an agent, when to get a headshot, and you'll also realize how more or less insignificant all these other things are once you've got your little business running smoothly, okay? There's just one final thing I wanted to add, and that is when I did all the things that I've done to get to where I am in my acting career, I had no idea consciously what I was actually doing. I wasn't following the universal principles of success. I wasn't looking to other industries to see what they were doing. I was looking at what other actors were doing, and I was more or less copying them. But then at some point I diverged from what they were doing, and I started to sort of do what my own common sense was telling me, because I felt like, I'm probably a lot smarter and more educated and well-traveled and all that stuff than a lot of these people, and they're doing it rather blindly. I was doing it, but the whole time I was doing it, I was thinking, is this what I should be doing? But since I didn't know what else to do, I just did it. But honestly, there was no conscious choice to do these things. I just started to diverge at some point, and then that's when things started to really happen. So what I've given you comes from me reverse engineering what I did. Because when I first set out to try and explain to other people what I had done and how to do it and how can you do it, I had no idea. I couldn't really break it down into steps. It's like I did 1,000 things and none of them worked, and one thing finally worked, and then I did 1,000 more things in no particular order. So it took me literally 2 years to figure out what I'm telling you guys. And very few other people know it, and even fewer people understand it. So I've reversed engineered what I did so that now you can follow these principles of success in acting. And frankly, you could use these same principles to do almost anything, to get to the higher levels of almost anything, whether it's a sport, any activity, any skill, any career path, it's all applicable. So, if you ever get out of acting and you want to go into something else, I've had lawyers and doctors tell me, man, that would have been great information to have when I was climbing up the ranks of those professions as well. So just so you know, I've had some amazing people tell me this stuff is bang on, but consciously don't think for a minute that I knew what I was doing, okay? I stumbled onto it and started doing things maybe out of lack of success of other things, and finally I was like, this is what most people in life do to get to the top. And now I get that. And now I could teach this to anyone on any subject or any skill. So anyway, just wanted to throw that in, guys. Thanks for your likes and shares and all that good social media stuff. It's not my bag, but if you guys are into it, go for it. Just don't think that that's how you're going to have an acting career, okay? Have fun with it, enjoy it, but don't think that's what's going to get you an acting career. It doesn't matter how many likes you have, how many friends you have. That's not going to get you acting jobs. What's going to get you acting jobs is knowing people face to face and having them really want to help you because they like you, okay? That's how life works. Talk to you soon.